Welcome back to another MOTOBOB video, and you join me today at Superbike Factory again, one of the biggest used motorcycle shops in the UK. Today I'm looking for the best beginner motorcycles, and I'm not talking about A2 or 125s, I'm talking about when you get your full license and you want your first big bike. Something not too expensive, something not too hectic because you're still developing your riding skills, and at the same time it's still got to be a bit of fun. Now I've already narrowed it down to these two, the MT-07 and the CB650R. So we're going to take them for a spin. I'll tell you what I think of them, and at the end I'll tell you which one I'd buy. But before we get started, a massive thanks to Superbike Factory for sponsoring the channel and making this video possible. As you can see, they've got loads of bikes in stock, so I definitely recommend getting down here to check them out. Or you can take a look at their website, I've linked to it down in the description, and they deliver plenty of their bikes, some of them for free. So I've had plenty of time riding both bikes today, so let's go through the main review categories. I'll give them a score for each, and then at the end we'll know which one is the winner. Starting off with the engine, and this is a bit of a tricky one because the inline 4 in the CB650R is really nice and smooth and refined, and it does have a lot of top end power. Now I have ridden both bikes plenty in the past, but never properly back to back like this, and I was expecting the Honda to feel quite a lot quicker. But in reality, it's the MT-07 that feels way more punchy on the road. Two reasons for that. One is the torque. It really does have much more mid-range to it, whereas this feels a bit flat. And then also the throttle delivery. It's super direct, it's really lively, and it's ridiculous how much this bike likes to wheelie for a 70 horsepower bike. Now don't get me wrong, this is a beautiful bike to ride. Like I say, it's super smooth and refined, and also it probably has more of a sports bike feel to it with it being an inline 4, but I think purely as a toy, something that's going to make you smile, the MT-07 for me has it easily. Alright, number 2, the sound. Let's have a little listen to both bikes, starting with the MT-07, which is a parallel twin, 270-degree crank to give it a bit of that V-twin vibe, and it does sound alright. Certainly sounds a bit stifled by the exhaust system. You can easily find clips of MT-07s with more free-flowing pipes on YouTube. I'd definitely recommend checking that out because it is a nice sounding bike if you fit something like that. And then the Honda. Much deeper. It really does have a nice bassy sound when it's ticking over like that. Much like I was saying about how the engine feels, you know, the sound is a lot more like a sports bike, but which one is better? I think if this one had an aftermarket can on it, it would edge it, but in stock form, we've got to review the bikes that are in front of us. It's the Honda. All right, onto the handling and chassis, and the MT-07 does have something going for it. It's nice and light, quite a bit lighter than the Honda, and also super approachable and easy to ride at low speeds, and part of that is the low seat height as well. But with the Honda, you get better suspension, so it's a show a separate function upside down fork, and better brakes, so they're radially mounted 4-pot Nissin calipers at the front there. Both the suspension and the brakes feel significantly better on this bike, and so in terms of handling, I'd give it to this one. Now as a newer rider, you're probably going to want a bike that's fairly comfortable, and the MT-07's not bad. I mean, the seat, like I say, is nice and low, which does make it easy to flat foot, especially for someone of my modest height. But I actually find the riding position a little bit weird on this bike because it's got fairly high foot pegs, and because of that low seat, there's not a great deal of space here, and it just feels a bit unnecessary for a naked bike. I find this bike much more comfortable. There's a little bit of extra height in the seat. I think the bars are a touch wider as well, and overall for me, if I had to spend, you know, a few hours on either of these machines, again, it'd be the Honda. It's doing pretty well here. Now let's talk about the tech on these two bikes, and it really does depend on you know, what sort of philosophy you've got on tech. You see, the Honda is way better equipped. It's got LED lighting, it's got traction control, it's got ABS, it's got a quick shifter on the upshift, so it doesn't blip on the downshift, but still a nice feature on a bike at this price point, whereas the MT-07 has nothing. This generation of MT-07 basically gets a, you know, an LCD dash, but there's not even ABS. It's a very raw riding experience. No riding modes, no traction control, nothing. And so, like I say, it'd be easy to give it to this bike because it has more features, but it's almost the beauty of this bike, its simplicity. It's proper lively, the engine's loads of fun, and then there's no TC kicking in to bring the front end down. You can lock up the back wheel, there's no ABS, and it just feels like a lively little puppy. I think I have to give the point to the Honda because it just does have more features, but don't let that be a deciding factor if those sorts of features and aids and safety nets aren't of interest to you. Now onto the looks, which, whether you like it or not, is a big factor for a lot of people buying a motorcycle. And again, I think it's the Honda that's the better looking of the two. It's got what they call their Neo Sports Cafe design language, so it's meant to be modern, but also with little nods to the past, perhaps with like the round headlight. And yeah, you'll see this styling also on the CB650R and then some of the smaller variants in this family of bikes. I think it looks brilliant, and it's not just the way they've styled it, it's also the quality of the finish. I really like the bronze wheels, the bronze on like the engine casing, the gold anodization on the forks, and all of those little things add up to make it look a lot more premium than the price point would suggest, and certainly it looks a lot more premium than the MT-07. I don't think this is particularly offensive. It doesn't look bad, but it's just not that. Now this particular bike I've been riding today is about $5.5 grand. The Honda is about $6.5, but it is quite a bit newer, and so I don't think that the price difference would be as pronounced if you were looking at equivalent years and mileages. Still, the MT-07 is cheaper if you were to buy them new. The starting price is cheaper, and also there's absolutely loads of them in stock. They're such a popular bike, and so you really do have a lot of choice of bikes at different price points. And so yeah, if you just want the cheapest bike of the two, I'm pretty certain you'll find a better one of these at a lower price, and so the MT-07 gets the point here. All right, so let's tally them up. 1 point to the MT-07 for the engine, handling, comfort, tech, styling, sound. 5 points to the CB, and then a final point there for the price to the MT-07. But which one would I actually buy if it were my money and I was looking for a beginner bike myself? Now I know this sounds absolutely preposterous given the scorings that I've just given them, but you know, those aren't all weighted equally, and I think the engine is so much more fun on this bike. The way that it's just like super playful at road speeds and it's always entertaining, whereas the Honda, you know, it just needs winding up a lot to get the most out of it, and really it only comes alive up at like 9,000, 10,000 revs. So for that reason, if it were my money, I'd have to go for the MT-07. Now we are talking used bikes today, but if I was buying new, I'd be heavily tempted again by the Triumph Trident. Now if you're facing that particular predicament yourself, then fortunately for you, I've already done a head-to-head of the current day MT-07 and the Triumph Trident, and you can watch it now by clicking over there. Enjoy.